morning, welcome to day 14 of Vlogmas. So it's Wednesday morning here and it's another very chilly morning here in the south of England. I think the temperature is still wavering around the 0 degrees level, so still very cold, definitely colder than usually we get in December here. We had to wrap up warm again on the school run. Although I was talking to one of the other mums on the school run this morning and she was saying she'd been looking at the forecast for the next week or so, and apparently the temperature's supposed to get up to 12 degrees next week, so it's supposed to get a lot warmer next week than it is at the moment. And actually I'm a bit disappointed about that because I've been really enjoying this cold weather. It's felt really nice and Christmassy. And I've enjoyed getting my knitted hats on and really wrapping up outside and then coming back to a cosy house and having a hot drink while it looks so cold and frosty outside. So yeah, I'll miss that weather next week, but I'll enjoy it while it lasts because we don't often get such cold weather before Christmas here. It's usually more in January, February. But anyway, it was a nice school run this morning and my son was in very good spirits because he is off to a pantomime today with his class at school. A few of the older years are taking a coach to a local town to see a pantomime this morning at a theatre that always puts on a pantomime every year, and they're taking their packed lunches with them, so making a real sort of morning out of it. So yeah, he was looking forward to that. He's not been to see a pantomime with school before, so it should be quite fun to go with all his friends. So hopefully he'll have a nice morning there. And then I had a nice leisurely walk back on the school run with a couple of the other mums. We had a nice chat, so I'm back home a little bit later than I sometimes am, and I was excited when I got home because I found the postman had already been earlier than he usually comes, and he delivered a parcel for me, which is a sewing related parcel. So I was quite excited to see that. It has arrived faster than I expected because I knew it was coming through the sort of Royal Mail, and there's been a lot of strikes recently and things have been taking longer to be delivered. I don't think they're striking at the moment. I think it starts up again. It might have started now actually, but I was surprised this parcel arrived as quickly as it did, so that's exciting. So I'll share that with you in a moment. So yeah, but first of all, as ever, I will start off with what Elf was up to in the night. So we got downstairs this morning to discover that Elf seems to have taken inspiration from the snow we've had this week outside, and had created his own little mini snow scene inside. So I'll put up a picture. You can see he made a bit of a mess. He got a lot of our indoor snowballs, which are these cool kind of squishy balls that are quite fun to throw around inside the house. And also he managed to find some cotton wool from somewhere and turn that into snow too. And he found enough cotton wool to wrap himself up in it and make himself into a sort of human snowball, or I guess like an elfin snowball. So he looked quite cosy actually in his little cotton wool sort of furry ball. But yeah, it did make quite a lot of mess. I haven't tidied it up yet. I'm not sure how easy the cotton wool will be to get out of the carpet, but hopefully it'll come off okay. So yeah, it's been a couple of very messy days from Elf. I'm hoping tomorrow he'll maybe try a different tack. We shall see. I can only keep my fingers crossed. So that is what Elf was up to. And then in terms of what I'm wearing today, I've gone for another really cosy outfit while the weather is still cold. I've got on a cosy sweater and a skirt because I thought I haven't had any of my skirts out, I don't think, this Vlogmas, or I might have worn a sort of long swishy Sabina skirt, but this is more of a short mini skirt length skirt today, so I thought I'd go for something different. It's a nice cosy wintry skirt though. But I'll talk about the sweater I'm wearing first, and this sweater is another one I made using this pattern here, the toaster sweater pattern by Sew House 7. I think I talked a bit about this pattern earlier in Vlogmas because I was wearing another toaster sweater version, so I won't go into too much detail now, but the version I'm wearing today is another one of this version, number 1, with this sort of funnel neck and these raglan sleeves and oversized cuffs. And then an oversized bottom band, and it's got quite a cropped fit to it. I've never actually made version 2, which has sort of like a more of a mini funnel neck and sort of a more classic sleeve. And I think it's designed to have a sort of close fit across the sleeves, and then it goes down to a slightly longer body with slits at the side and a slightly high-low hem. I think the back hem comes down slightly lower than the front hem. So it looks like a really cute version too, and I think these two versions are both really different to each other, particularly because one's raglan sleeve and one's more of a kind of classic, I don't know what you describe this sleeve, but kind of what I describe as a classic sleeve. So I guess if you get this pattern, you are just getting two really different jumpers in it, which is quite cool. But yeah, the version I'm wearing today is version 1, and I made it in this really nice fleecy backed sweatshirt fabric that is quite bright, as you can see. I thought I'd go for something really colourful today. It's a bit of a fun print. It looks almost like a kind of watercolours, I think, or something, in hot pink and sort of a greeny colour in yellow and purple. So wearing this jumper does make me feel happy because it's so bright and colourful, and it's not one I reach for a lot because it's really thick fleece back sweatshirt. It's definitely on the substantial end of the scale, not a lightweight fleece back sweatshirt at all. And I got this fabric quite a while ago from Lily and Mimi Fabric Shop, which is the same website I got my gingerbread fabric from. They have some really nice, fun jersey and sweatshirt fabrics on there with really cute prints. So I bought this on a bit of a whim, and I really enjoy wearing it actually. It's really fun and it's nice and cosy. And I think when I made this, well, I lengthened the sleeve a bit, you can see it's really long, and I also lengthened the body a bit, so I've got it today tucked into my skirt. And in terms of sizing, I've always gone for the extra small size on the toaster sweater. I think their sizing may have changed now. I think I was looking and they have now 2 size ranges, a 00 to a 20 and then a curvy 16 to 34. So I'm not sure how my old pattern with extra small fits in with the new size range, but I make the version that has a bust of 32 inches, which is my bust. The waist and hips on that size is slightly smaller, but it's quite a straight down fit. And I've never bothered grading out. And I guess this version does come to my hips now. I've made it a bit longer, so it's not just cropped to my waist sort of level, but I still find it fine that it's room to sit over my hips, even though my hips are slightly larger on it. So yeah, I've not graded out on this one, but that is the sweater I'm wearing. Then I've got it tucked into a mini skirt, and I'll stand up a bit so you can see my skirt. It's a really cosy skirt I made in a sort of chunky corduroy fabric, and I made it using this pattern here, which is a skirt pattern I really like, the Grainline Studio Moss skirt pattern. So it's quite a classic style mini skirt with a fly front zip / pockets. It's got a yoke at the back, which I think is quite nice because it means it kind of hugs from your from sort of above your bottom to the waist. It kind of hugs in nicely. And then it's got this option to add a little bottom band onto, or you can make a shorter mini skirt version. And I think if you make this version, I think it comes down more to knee length. And it's designed to sit just below your natural waist. And it comes together really nicely, this skirt. The size range isn't the best. It only goes from a size 0 to 18. And the largest size is for waist 37 inches and hips 47 inches. So yeah, the size range isn't great, but it's a really nice, simple skirt, I guess a classic denim skirt style skirt. And I've made a couple of versions, both in chunky corduroy, and I really enjoy getting them out. So the version I'm wearing today is kind of a combination of these two versions because I like the bottom band feature, but I didn't want it knee length, I wanted it more mini length. So I kind of cropped off a little bit on the length of this version and then added on the band underneath. So my version, I guess, is somewhere between the mini length and the knee length, but still on the short side, I guess. And in terms of sizing on the moss skirt, my measurements would put me as a straight size 2. But when I've made my versions, I've actually sized down on the waist measurement because the skirt is designed to sit slightly below your natural waist, and I prefer my skirts to sit more on my natural waist. So I thought if I size down one size on the waist measurement, it'll be a bit more snug around my waist and would sort of bring it up to the point where I wanted it. And that seems to have worked out fine. I think if I'd gone for the slightly lower sitting skirt, I'd have been constantly tugging it up a little bit, wanting it to sit more on my natural waist anyway. So I'm glad I sort of sized down one size there to bring it up slightly. And I find that the Grainline Studio patterns are really nice and easy to follow. They're quite concise instructions, but very clear and methodical. So I think this was my first time when I made my first version of this skirt that I tried a fly front zipper. But I found the instructions really took me through it in a very clear way, even if they weren't the wordiest instructions ever. So yeah, I do like Grainline Studio instructions. I do find them nice and clear and easy to follow. And the version of the skirt I'm wearing today is in a really pretty colour. It's kind of like a really dark teal colour, I think. I'll stand up a bit so you can see again. And it's in a really nice chunky cozy corduroy fabric. Oh, and you can see I went for a little jeans button on the front, which I think finished it off nicely. And this fabric came from Self-Made a long time ago, so I don't doubt it's still in stock, but it's a nice chunky corduroy. The moss skirt isn't a lined skirt. I guess you could add a lining if you wanted, although it is actually extra cosy, the version I'm wearing, because this bottom band here is like a double layer of corduroy, so it's really nice and cosy there. But the fabric is so thick and chunky that it's really cosy to wear this skirt even without a lining. And I thought the kind of teal colours in it, the dark teal, kind of picked out the colours in this sweater quite nicely too. So I haven't put this pair together before, but I thought they looked quite nice together and were quite nice and colourful for this cold sort of wintry weather. So yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing today. Oh, and I'll put a picture up so you can see what it looks like on and see the length of the skirt and that sort of thing. It is keeping really cosy, this outfit. I love the nice long cuffs of the toaster sweater. They're really nice and cosy. So that's what I'm wearing today, and I'm really enjoying taking the opportunity of getting out all of my cosiest handmade garments while we have this very chilly weather. I think next week when the weather starts to warm up, I'll probably be reaching for some different styles of garments. But yeah, for now I'm definitely enjoying getting out all the cosy things. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing. But I'll move on now to sharing with you my sewing related parcel that arrived this morning. It was a very nice surprise it arrived because I definitely wasn't expecting it to come this soon. And it is a fleece back sweatshirting fabric and matching ribbing that I want to use to make another one of these Mile End sweatshirts by Closet Core Patterns. So you probably know, if you've watched my channel for a while, this is one of my favourite sweatshirt patterns, possibly my most favourite sweatshirt pattern. And I'll show you the line drawings. This is a version I particularly like of this pattern. So the Mile End sweatshirt is a really nice relaxed fit sweatshirt. It's part of the Montreal collection by Closet Core, which also includes a jogging bottoms pattern, the Plateau joggers. They're both available in a really good size range. I think they go from a 0 up to a US 32. And the Mile End sweatshirt is quite a relaxed fit sweatshirt with a dropped shoulder. This is view A, my favourite version with this crew neck. It's got a back yoke and these really cool sleeve darts, which are a really nice feature, and these seams that sort of come around the front, so they're sort of diagonally round to the front, which is another lovely feature. So it's a cool sweatshirt with some really interesting details to it that makes it a lot of fun to sew. There's also this version B that has pretty much the same style as view A, but it's got this little extra tie at the front that sort of scrunches up the front and brings it in to give a different detail. And then view C is quite different. It's got a sort of wrap over front with a hood and a kangaroo pouch. It's a really cool pattern. Yeah, I've got a couple of, I think I've got 3 versions actually, 2 kind of classic versions, 1 crop version, and I wear them all the time, and I have been thinking for a while I wouldn't mind having another Mile End sweatshirt. I know I'll get lots of wear out of it because I wear the other ones loads, and I've been eyeing up this particular fabric for quite a while, but I hadn't gone for it for a couple of reasons. And I was saying to my husband about it that I keep looking at it and not buying it. And he said, you should just go for it, it'll be absolutely fine. So I went for it. It is some Mind the Maker fleece back sweatshirting, which is what I've used from other Mile End sweatshirts. It's a really lovely fleece back sweatshirting fabric. It's not quite as thick as the fabric I'm wearing today, but it is still quite substantial, so really nice and cosy and perfect for a winter sweatshirt. And the colour I've gone for this time is, this is the reason I wasn't sure it was the most practical colour, this colour here, which is called their Creamy White colourway. So it's kind of like an off-white creamy colour, really pretty, but not very practical for someone like me who does, tend to kind of get things dirty. So I did say to my husband, but what if I make it dirty? And he was like, well, you can just put it in the wash. So I thought, I'll just go for it, see how I get on, and just really enjoy wearing it. So I've got the fleece back sweatshirting here, that's the front of the fabric. You can see got a nice fleecy back, and I've got just 0.5 metres of the ribbing. I got it from Minerva, and that's the minimum amount you can order, 0.5 metres, so I won't need that much, but I figure a kind of creamy off-white colour ribbing will be quite practical for using with other things anyway, so I'm sure I'll use whatever I have left on other projects. So there is the ribbing. So as you can see, they're just a perfect colour match together. So I'm planning on making another Mile End sweatshirt. I'm going to make view A again, and I'm going to go for sort of, the longer version, just a really nice cosy oversized sweatshirt. I'll probably again as ever make the size 0, which is the size I've made before. That is designed for slightly smaller than my measurements, but when I looked at the finished garment measurements, which inside the pattern envelope, the Mile End is designed to be quite oversized, and even the size 0, the finished garment measurements, were much larger than my measurements, so I thought I don't want to go super oversized, so that's what I went for. And I'm really looking forward to sewing another one up actually. I haven't sewn one up since last winter, so it'll be nice to revisit the pattern. And yes, we'll see how well I manage to keep it clean, but like my husband said, I can always put it in the wash if it gets dirty. It doesn't matter, it's absolutely fine. I just really like the colour. I haven't got a lot of creamy things in my wardrobe because I don't often go for it because it isn't a practical colour, but I've been eyeing up this fabric for ages, so I guess it was a little early Christmas present to myself. So I need to get this in the pre-wash so I can get it started to be cut out at some point. I think I'm going to finish my dressing gown first before I get started on this one, but yeah, I'm really pleased that's arrived so I can get it washed and dried and ready to cut out. So that's my plans for my new fabric. So yeah, hopefully I'll enjoy wearing a fleecy, creamy coloured version. I'll link it down below, this fabric. I'm a big fan. Yeah, I'm always looking at different colourways thinking, oh, I'd like that one, I'd like that one. So yeah, that's my plans for my new fabric. I'm really looking forward to sewing with that. I find the Mile End sweatshirt a really enjoyable sew, and I don't think you can have too many Mile End sweatshirts, or at least I can't, so it'll be nice to have another one in my wardrobe. So I'm going to go and get that pre-washed today and get it drying, but I'm not going to do anything with it for now. My plans for today are I've got a bit of sewing time this morning and I'm going to start sewing my larger dressing gown. So I'm looking forward to getting started on sewing it. The cutting out stage is not my most favourite part, so it'll be nice to get started on the most enjoyable bit of sewing. So I'll finish off here. I'm going to go and get a few jobs done, hopefully a bit of sewing done, and I'll catch up with you a little bit later. So see you in a little bit. Bye! Hello, it's later in the morning now and I've got my sewing machine out, which is nice. I sat down a little while ago thinking I'd be able to get stuck in sewing my larger dressing gown, and then I opened the pattern instructions and found that there was still a bit more interfacing I needed to cut out. In the instructions it recommends that if you're sewing with a drapey fabric, it's a good idea to interface the tops of the pockets, just the openings, just to add a bit more stability there. And the viscose I'm sewing with is quite drapey and delicate, so I thought it would be worth doing that. So I got my interfacing back out, cut a couple of strips at the top of the pockets, and I've done a little bit of sewing now. I attached the interfacing, then I've turned the pocket down and top stitched both pockets down. So here is one of my cute little pockets. I haven't gone for pattern match pockets on this dressing gown. I think the print's so busy and it'll be wrapped around me, so I don't think I need to pattern match. So I think the next step is to turn in the edges of the pocket and press them down, and then I guess it'll be attaching them onto the main body of the dressing gown and starting to sew the main dressing gown, which will be exciting. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But one thing I need to do before I do any more sewing is actually change the needle on my machine, because I got started sewing these first bits on this little bit of top stitching and I realised I hadn't actually used the right needle for it. I have got a sort of needle design for woven fabrics in currently, so I haven't got a stretch needle or a ballpoint needle in or anything. But the needle I've got in I think is slightly more heavyweight than I want to use on a delicate fabric like this. I think it might be a size 80 or a 90 needle. And when I'm sewing with delicate fabrics like viscose, I like to use these needles here. They are Schmetz Microtex needles. I've heard lots of good things about Microtex needles and I find them really good myself. They're really nice and sharp. And the pack I've got here, I got from Amazon. I'll link it down below. And it comes in 3 sizes in this one pack. You get 2 size 60, 2 size 70 and 1 size 80. And if I'm sewing with like a delicate fine fabric like a viscose, I'll go for a size 60 or a size 70 probably. And yeah, I find these needles really good. I just like to use them to avoid the risk of snagging. I have been fine on the top stitching so far using the larger needle. It hasn't snagged at all, but these ones are really lovely and sharp and perfect for working with finer fabrics that need to be treated a little bit delicately. So I thought I'd just share that. That's my next step, to change the needle on my sewing machine. And I thought also while I was on, I didn't mention earlier how much fabric I'd ordered for my Marlene sweatshirt. And I know in previous videos, people have mentioned how it's always really helpful to find out how much fabric I've ordered. So I thought I'd explain how much fabric I ordered and why I ordered that amount. So first of all, the Marlene sweatshirt pattern has details in the back of how much fabric it thinks you need for each size. So I'm making view A in size 0, and it says for a view A size 0 sweatshirt, if you've got 1.5 metre wide fabric, you need 1.4 metres in length. Now I ended up ordering 1 metre of the fleece back sweatshirting fabric and 0.5 metres of the ribbing. And like I mentioned earlier, I ordered 0.5 metres of the ribbing because that was the minimum order quantity, so I'll have quite a lot of that left over that I'll use on other projects. But for the main fabric, I ordered a little bit less than the pattern recommended for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I guess I'll use the ribbing to cut out a couple of pieces of the pattern, so the cuffs and the neckband I'll cut out in the ribbing, but they're all quite small pieces, so they wouldn't really take a lot of length of the main fabric anyway, so I didn't really think about that particularly when deciding on the length I was going to order the main fabric. But one thing is, the Mind the Maker fabric I've ordered is actually wider than your average fabric. It comes in 1.75 metres rather than a kind of classic 1.5 metres, so I knew I'd have a bit of extra width to play with. And then I got out the pattern pieces of the pattern. I just had a bit of a play with them and saw kind of how long they ended up being if I put, say, a body and an arm underneath each other, and I found that actually that came to just under 1 metres anyway, so I thought that'd be plenty actually, so I'd be able to squeeze out the shorter amount. So sometimes it is worth, I think, having a look at pattern pieces and having a play around with them and figuring out if you can get away with a bit more fabric than the pattern requires. So I've got that much fabric, so hopefully it'll be plenty. I'll let you know when I'm cutting out. It's quite pricey fabric though, so I was keen to order as little as possible to make it as cost effective as possible when I was ordering it. But I thought also, I know people have asked a few times kind of what I order on fabric say if I'm buying a fabric and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to make with it, how much do I usually go for? So if you find it useful for me to talk a little bit more about that, let me know, and I'll include it in my next Vlogmas video, a bit of a chat about kind of classic lengths of fabric I'll go for. Say if I'm thinking I want to make a top, how much I go for, or if I'm thinking I make a dress, but I'm not sure exactly which one, what I would generally go for to give me enough fabric to make it, but not so I've got loads of it left. So yeah, let me know if you'd find that helpful to hear about in a future video. But I thought I'd mention how much I ordered than a mile-end sweatshirt in case you'd find that helpful. But anyway, I'm going to change my needle now and hopefully do a little bit more sewing. So I'll leave you now and I'll see you again a little bit later. Bye! Hello, so it's early afternoon now. I've done a little bit of sewing and then had some lunch and then come back to my sewing machine, and I thought I'd pop on now and share with you my progress I'm making on my dressing gown. So I've attached the pockets to the sort of front panels of the dressing gown now, and I quite enjoyed top stitching them down. I think that's quite a fun part of sewing, the top stitching. So here is one of my pockets I've top stitched down. The pattern recommended that you add these little triangles on the corners at the top just to kind of add a bit more strength, I guess, to the top of the pocket where you're going to use it. So there's one of my little pockets on. And then I've also sewed the shoulder seams. So I've got the back and front attached now, which is nice because it feels like it's starting to resemble a proper garment. And I found I had an overlocker thread that matched quite well this sort of beigey coloured fabric. So I was quite pleased about that because I don't have a huge range of sort of overlocker thread colours. I find that they're quite bulky, obviously you need 4 of them, so they're quite bulky to keep, so I try to keep quite a limited range so I've got limited space. But I found that I had some little sort of mini overlocker thread spools that I'd obviously bought quite a long time ago in a sort of creamy beige colour, and there's not a lot of thread left on each of them now. I'm hoping there might be enough to finish this garment. I'll show you on the shoulder seam so you can see the sort of colour match. Here it is. So I thought that was quite a good colour match. And if there isn't enough left of them, I don't think it'll be too much of a problem because I think white overlocker thread would be fine too, and it's going to be on the inside anyway, but it was quite nice to find quite a nicely matching thread. So now I've got the sleeves attached on with clips. I need to sew them in place, but I think actually I'm going to tidy my sewing machine up now because in a short while I'm going to go and meet a friend and we're going to go on a little wintry walk, so that should be nice. I'm going to get all wrapped up and yeah, go out and have a chat, which will be good. So I think I'm going to finish this video off now. So yeah, thank you so much for watching another day of my Vlogmas. I do really appreciate you tuning in every day and liking my videos and commenting too. It's really nice to know that you're joining me through this sort of Christmas period. I do find Vlogmas such fun to do. It really makes me feel Christmassy as I go about my life, sharing the kind of Christmassy bits with you and the sewing bits and a bit of life too. It's fun. So thank you very much for joining along with me and making my Vlogmas a lot of fun and really festive. So yeah, thank you again. I hope you have a lovely day and I will see you again for day 15 tomorrow. So yeah, have a good day. See you tomorrow. Bye.